The problem of damaged seagrass in the Florida Keys has gone on for as long as boat motors and anchors have carved through the waters of the Florida Keys. Many people have no idea of the real damage that is done when they run their boats and drag their ankles through low-lying areas. What I have seen is that they come out, they don't know the markers, they don't know the systems, and they cut across what looks like clear, deep water, but often it's only a foot or less deep. Once they get stuck or once they power through, they have destroyed seagrass for many, many, many years, and it doesn't come back. And unfortunately, what we have seen is more and more seagrass scars around the areas that we travel, and more damage to the seagrass, which affects so much of the life on our reef and in our shallow waters.
Well, I grew up in Florida and moved to the Keys back in the early 70s, 1971, 72, and have then also lived around the world. Came back here almost 8 years ago to retire, and got very much involved in the Coast Guard Auxiliary. Have always been involved in ecological projects around the world and coral restoration, and started realizing the link between seagrass beds and what was happening to the coral reefs and how everything was connected together. So in my classes that I teach for the Coast Guard Auxiliary for boating, I always want to emphasize that, because we have so many shallow areas here and so many areas that people don't understand that when they run across them, they're destroying the very thing that they came to see, because not only are they destroying the seagrass, but they're destroying the reefs and they're destroying other things, because all of it links together. Seagrass beds provide a habitat for many of the smaller animals and the crustaceans and the mollusks that live there. And they are vital to our coastal waters because they provide not only that habitat, but direct feeding for other animals. Often, though, this is overlooked. People drive across it not thinking that there's anything important about it. There's many prop scars, there's terrible groundings where they really tear up the bottom. Light prop scars are difficult to grow back, but we can do that. But the deep prop scars where people really ground hard and try to power out and really tear up the rhizomes are even more damaging.
Over the past 10 or 20 years, how much damage has been done, and is it accelerating?
In my observations and in the observations of many scientists, it has accelerated tremendously. More and more people are down here, more and more people are using boats, and more people are going across the seagrass beds and causing prop scars and tearing up the seagrass. So it is definitely accelerating. We've watched it in areas where we go through all the time, from where there were a few seagrass scars to now it's almost all seagrass scars.
Okay, Jim, how many boats are on the water today, and who do you think's doing the most damage? Is it weekenders, locals, tourists, people coming from Miami? Who's doing the most damage?
Well, you know, if you go to the reef on a weekend, especially a holiday weekend, we have some areas called the Sandbar and other places that people use as kind of a public beach. They put their boats in the water. Usually there are people from Miami and maybe other people who are renting boats that don't use our waters very frequently. And they go to those sandbars and just kind of run up on the sandbar, put an anchor in the sandbar. All of that area, the seagrass has been torn away, but that's just going to happen. People are going to go there. I don't think they're doing it on purpose, but I do think that they just have a disregard maybe for what they're doing to the water. They want to come down and have a good time. I don't think locals do it as much. I'm not saying that we don't all make mistakes, but I don't think locals do it as much because they're out there. They know what the waters are like, and they don't want to tear up their boat, and they don't want to tear up the bottom. But I do think people who are coming for the weekend or coming down and renting boats or vacationers just are uninformed. And I wish more of the places, the marinas and the rental places, would be more specific with them about how to travel through our waters.
Hello everyone, my name is Captain Mark Johnson. I'm the owner-operator of Florida Keys Fun Fishing, a local charter fishing company here in downtown Islamorada. Today we're doing a piece on seagrass wear and tear, seagrass recovery, and how to rebuild the seagrass problems that we're having here in our town. So right here behind us, if you were to look, you will see our most common restoration project, which consists of PVC sticks, little wooden blocks, and the best bird for the job is the cormorant. And what makes this little project so special is that what we've learned from the science is that the bird poop is very nutrient rich, and the bird poop accelerates the grass growing in all of these damaged areas. And it accelerates it at a rate 10 to 1, if you will. And a normal prop scar, which is what our whole piece is on here, may take 7 to 10 years to heal. These projects have cut that time less than half. And sad to say about our seagrass out here, but if you can look and see in the water now that the sun's up, you can see the prop scars, the bare sand areas, and a lot of territory that we have that just is under ruthless, endless amount of wear and tear from today's boat traffic, water usage. And it's not just boats, it's jet skis, it's everybody. Everybody wants to be here in the Keys, use the water, but we just got to do a better job on protecting the grass.
So seagrass grows by both sending down roots and sending out horizontal rhizomes. The rhizomes are the ones that kind of keep all the sediment in place. And those, when the roots and the rhizomes are destroyed, it causes damage that takes many, many years to fix itself.
Okay, so here we are in downtown Islamorada on a weekday, and the amount of boat traffic and water usage that we deal with every day is tremendous. We have boats coming down the channel right here behind us. If you pan to the left, you'll see a whole herd of jet skis running down the channel. If you pan farther left, you'll see Captain Sam out there doing an eco tour around what we officially call Bird Island. And it just goes to show you that our seagrass, our flats, are in dire straits in a lot of area, a lot of wear and tear, a lot of damage. And we got to do a better job at protecting them, which is now how you see one of our seagrass restoration projects here with the sticks, the blocks, and the birds. But make no mistake, Islamorada is a busy place.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the difference you've seen over the past decade or so in the size of the fish that you're catching and how that's affected.
So the size actually isn't the concern. It's the numbers and the territory. So when you take the grass and the beating that it takes and the damage to the seagrass, what that does is it takes away the food source. And when you don't have food, you don't have prey. Now, not only does it take away the food source, but when you have too much traffic on the flats, boats, jet skis, push poles, everything all in one, the fish never get a chance to relax. And so when the fish don't get a chance to relax, they don't want to frequent the flats that have the grass. But when you have areas that now have no grass or damaged grass, then it takes a lot of the areas that we fish out of play. And that is probably our biggest problem today.
Okay, Captain Mark, what I want to know is how the local economy, the fishing guides, and the tourism industry, how that's affected by the damage to these to the seagrass.
So, Coach, interesting enough, you come to the Keys because it's beautiful and it's pretty. You come to the Keys to fish, to dive, to snorkel, to see the water. There's nowhere else in the United States where the water is as pretty as it is here. So, for us, the fishing obviously is very important. The eco-touring is very important. The environment's very important. So what does seagrass damage do for us? Well, the seagrass for flats fishing and inshore fishing is very important. It's an environment that holds all your bait. It's a reason for fish to come and feed. It's very important to what we do. And so the damage to the seagrass creates a problem. The more the grass is damaged, the less habitat you have for bait, the less bait you have, less predator fish you have, and the more damage is also an eyesore. So does it affect the economy? Sure. Is it noticeable every day? Probably not if you look at it day by day. But over a long period of time, like from when I was a kid till now, which is many moons ago, you can see the damage. It's very visible. And if you look at satellite pictures and all that we have technology, it's saddening to see the damage that we have on the flats today.
Healthy seagrass communities are one of the most productive ecosystems in the world. They provide a habitat for crustaceans, for small fish, for immature fish. They hold sediment in place. so that they can grow. They actually add oxygen to the water. There's research that says that the seagrass communities are as important as forests to getting out CO2, removing CO2, and adding O2 to the system. So when we destroy the seagrass, then we are destroying a lot of things that affect our whole ecology. Directly, many of the seagrasses are eaten by manatees and other animals that are also very important to our ecosystems and are something we all like to see around because we know it's a healthy system when we see manatees and turtles, moving through seagrass beds.
Tell us about some of the restoration efforts that are going on.
Well, we have a couple of different things that are happening. Some that are trying to fix prop scars that are not too deep, and that's when we have the PVC poles where the cormorants and other seabirds actually use those to perch, and then their poop actually fertilizes the water underneath. Some of the restoration projects, though, that's not enough because the scar damage is so deep that just having them grow out isn't work. So they actually have to go in and replant, add sand back into the holes and the divots that have been dug out, and then try to replant. Currently, there are more than 30 seagrass restoration projects underway at the sanctuary. The Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary protects 2,900 square nautical miles of critical marine habitat, including coral reef, hard bottom, seagrass meadow, mangrove communities, and sand flats. NOAA and the state of Florida manage the sanctuary.
Okay, Jim, so tell me about the worst boat scar, the worst incident of damage that you've ever experienced.
Recently, kind of near Shell Key, the mother of all boat scars that I have seen was when a large boat tried to go out in a very shallow area, missed all the markers, tried to go between two small islands where there were no markers. I think it was a dual engine boat, got stuck very badly, called for towboat help. The towboat came out, told him he'd have to wait for the tide, and then he could bring him back out, and it was going to be like a 12-hour wait. The towboat went away. The guy got impatient, decided he was going to try to get himself off, and tore up an area hundreds of yards long, huge blowholes, and incredible damage to the area, even after he was told not to do that, to wait for the tide, and they could help get him off without much damage. So that was on purpose. The guy just didn't care and just tore up a tremendous amount of seagrass. And it's going to cost him, I believe, a lot of money, serious amount of money.
You got an estimate? What do you think? I mean, what does it cost
They
per
actually,
foot?
I don't remember right now, but I do know that we were talking in the $100,000 to $200,000 range for the amount of damage that he did, because it takes that. It's not just a fine; it's how much it's going to take, work it's going to take to fill all of that in and replant the grass. The amount of man hours and work to get that back in a reasonable shape is going to be massive. So it's going to cost a lot. Seagrass beds and mangrove areas that fringe the oceans around the world are extremely important to our overall environment. Scientists are finding that they contribute to producing oxygen and removing CO2 maybe as much or even more than tropical rainforests. People don't understand that. They just see it out there as a place in the water that doesn't seem like there's much going on, but it's extremely important to us worldwide. And one of the things that we're trying to do in the Coast Guard Auxiliary and what we're trying to do in so many of the organizations down here is to let people know how important that is to their livelihood, to our ecology, and to the future generations of the world.